In 3, 2, and 1. We are live. Mark, why don't you go for it?
Yeah, hey guys. Hey Charles, Yusuf, good to see you guys. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Charles, Mark. What's going on, guys?
Man, the market's been good. I know I know for some of us it keeps us busier than others. So for me being, taking this long-term approach, for me the market the weekend wasn't that eventful. I mean, I stayed plugged in. I kind of watched it. But as a very active trader, Yusuf, I think you were probably pretty busy, right?
Yeah, I was really busy. We had some activity with Neo. That was really exciting. We had some EOS continue to pump, so that was pretty exciting. I was also in B Cash, which was a little disappointing. I thought that was going to kind of follow EOS a little bit, but it kind of fell a little flat. So it was an eventful weekend. And Saturdays is kind of hit and miss with crypto. Sometimes we'll see a little modest, sideways movement. Sometimes we'll see a nice little pump in the market one direction or another. So Saturdays, it's been more eventful of late than it has been in the past.
So I can't help but ask, man. I mean, you're sitting in this field of meadows. So either you made a killing and you're ready to retire, or you're ready to you got a gun on the side and you're ready to blow your head out.
People that trade, they understand what's happening right here. You have to decompress, you gotta let it go, smell the roses, get around some pretty scenery, and get recharged and ready for the next go around.
Yeah, for sure. As everybody should, and I talk about that a lot, even just from an investing standpoint, where it's people get so caught up refreshing their portfolio app or CoinMarketCap so many times, and especially when we were going into this bear market, and I was like, look, just turn it off, step away, decompress, like Yusuf's saying. Whether you're actively trading, whether you're investing, whatever you're doing, no reason to be so consumed by it that you can't just live your life a little bit, So sometimes just shut it off and decompress, enjoy life. Yeah. So I do some trading in certain market conditions. For my trading, I like to do a little bit different style where I don't have to be on it, on 15 minutes or 1 hour, 4 hour, moves. Typically I'll do moves, more kind of momentum strategies, breakout strategies that gives me a little bit longer time periods to get in and out. I haven't really been doing much lately, but the market's been good for it, for sure. But it's still been a little choppy, it seems like, right? I mean, it's been a pretty good bull market. As a matter of fact, since April 6th until yesterday, the overall market has gone from 248 billion to 441 billion, which is a 77% gain across the board, which is pretty amazing. But as rocket ship as that sounds, well, and then Bitcoin during that same time period has gone up only 43%, and all the other coins, what we call the altcoins, have gone up 104%. But even with that, which is a pretty massive climb to do 100% across the board in less than a month, it just hasn't been a straight climb, right? So that's where you come in, Yusuf. You're making moves in between all the little moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bitcoin has became a little bit less exciting to trade. I find myself trading the alts more because Bitcoin doesn't make as a powerful of a move as it used to before, with some exceptions, of course. But because it is cryptocurrency and it does have high volatility times, it does allow us to come in and get in between those little moves, those little increments. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, it's really interesting to kind of see how the market's developing now.
What do you think about the movement of alts versus Bitcoin? So I see tons of people going back through history and looking at Bitcoin and the alts from 2014, 15, 16, 17, and I'm one who always likes to study history to predict the future. But typically, or I don't know about typically, but almost what we've always seen is Bitcoin pumps first. And it's almost like because you have to put fiat into Bitcoin and then I can use that Bitcoin to get other coins. And so Bitcoin is the first coin that gets purchased. And so typically we always see Bitcoin pump first, which usually makes the alts kind of bleed a little bit. And then the alts kind of rally after that. And I think we've always seen that. But this time we didn't. I mean, Bitcoin barely moved and we saw the alts really pump hard. Is that what you saw too?
I mean, that's very interesting because I've watched that divergence kind of happen in the market where even on the last bull run that we went on from like the 7K range up to about the 8,500 mark, I think that's what it was, something like that, where Litecoin and Ethereum, they actually made the move before Bitcoin did. It actually was pumping before Bitcoin. And then we've seen like this big, violent $1,000 spike from out of on Bitcoin from out of nowhere. So I'm watching how the Bitcoin dominance, how that really starts to play out in the market in real time. So before, when I used to trade these cryptos, literally all I would do, if Bitcoin was going up, I'll take a position on Bitcoin, and sometimes, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit this, but sometimes I would just take the exact same position on the top alts without even looking at them. And I'll come back, and because Bitcoin's in profit, all my other alts are in profit. But it's not that case anymore. Now I actually have to trade.
Yeah.
I actually have to see what each individual coin is doing because Bitcoin doesn't dictate what the other coins are doing so much anymore.
And why do you think that is, Yusuf?
Well, I think, as you put it, the way the money's flowing into the market is different. So if we have more options to get money into the market, excluding Bitcoin, then we don't need to put money into Bitcoin in order for it to affect the prices, in order for us to get access to other coins. So I think that has a big place in it. Outside of that,
well, I think I think too. I would agree with you on that. So what we're starting to see, and what Yusuf's saying, is that right now everything's dominated in Bitcoin, what we call pairs. So I'd have to trade Bitcoin to get one of the coins. You can usually get fiat US dollars into Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. And what we're starting to see is more and more exchanges are adding more US dollar pairs. It's something that we're going to see trending faster and faster, more and more. I think it makes up a small percentage of what we're seeing today. So they're announcing they're doing this, but we haven't really seen a lot of it. Plus, a lot of those exchanges that are going to add USD pairs, they're not really accepting deposits of US dollars yet. So it's something definitely to keep an eye on, and it's definitely going to change the market. It's going to cause Bitcoin to lose more dominance. And so Bitcoin's always like to keep that 45, 50% dominance, but by having more and more US dollar pairs, it's going to start losing dominance. And as more and more exchanges can accept dollars, it's going to change that. But I think that's something that's coming. I don't know how much it's affected what I was thinking. So that piece for sure. But, over the last month, OTC Bitcoin sales have been off the charts. And because it's over the counter, that means it's Bitcoin transactions happening outside of the exchanges. And so we don't have a lot of hard facts on this. All I can tell you is that from the insiders that I'm in touch with and everything that I've been able to pick up across the chatter, across the news wires and whatnot, I mean, the demand for over-the-counter Bitcoin sales happening off the exchanges. And the reason why they're happening off the exchanges is because they're typically 10 million up to hundreds of millions of dollar transactions. It's been insane. And so I think we've probably seen hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of Bitcoin transactions happening off the exchange, which kept Bitcoin from pumping off the exchange. And then that Bitcoin money then flowed into all. So probably it followed the same pattern that we've typically seen, but because the transactions happened off the exchanges, it didn't have the pump on Bitcoin. What do you think about that?
So is there not OTC transaction for these alts? Just buying them directly?
I don't believe there is.
Well, I mean, you technically could do an OTC on the alt. I guess people aren't trading them as much though right now.
You can typically do anything. I just don't think there's the market for it.
Yeah, it's not there. But like right now in Bitcoin, I mean, I'd say once a month I get someone else once, or not even once a month, once a week, and Mark could probably say the same thing, that is going to buy, hey, if you've got at least 1,000 Bitcoins or 10,000 Bitcoins, I'll buy them all from you. Now they want a discount at, 5 or 10%. So, and, I'm not really in the mood on, we're not really in the selling mood because we think it's going up. But you've got a lot of these, call it backroom deals going on, who are trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible without, getting it on the market and getting people to know what's going on. Because, if you went to, the exchange volume, if someone literally put in an open to buy order, put a buy wall for 10,000 Bitcoins, that would, your eyes would just widen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think that's part of it. The other thing that I always try and keep in mind and always try and reiterate as well is that, so the alts went from 136 billion to 278 billion in less than a month. But that doesn't mean that $150 billion of money came into the market and it had to go into Bitcoin first and it had to go into the alts. $150 billion didn't necessarily come into the market. That's what the valuation changed. So really that could have happened with hardly any money coming into the market. And really it's just the alts were super low. People were hot to buy them. They wanted to buy these good projects that had gotten crushed really bad. And you got to remember the alts suffered worse than Bitcoin did in the turn down. So a lot of people just wanted to start buying them back up. And so although the valuation went up by 140 billion or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean that money came in, and it could have happened off of $10 billion or something. So interesting. I'm just curious, Yusuf, to me, this data that we're talking about, the movement of money from Bitcoin to alts, alts pumping more than Bitcoin, to me, with my long-term outlook on the market, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. So money flowed to alts before Bitcoin, and typically it flows to Bitcoin more. Does that mean more to you, though?
As far as where the money's flowing or how fluid it is?
Well, from a trading perspective, you're looking at past charts to hopefully predict, movements in the very near future. So when the markets are moving different than they have through whatever short history we have, does that affect what you're doing?
Not at all. Because at the end of the day, the certain type of parameters and setups that I'm looking for in the market, they form regardless of how the money flows. Rather Bitcoin is a dominant or rather the alts are pumping before Bitcoin. It really doesn't matter. It's more of an adjustment. Whereas before we can kind of follow the leader, well, now we just have to kind of look things individually. Even when we take a look at NEO, I just fundamentally, I really can't explain why NEO had such a pump. But the technical outlook gave me the most bullish scenario out of anything else that I was looking at, with the exception of EOS. So, and then when we talk about historical data, that's really sketchy when we talk about crypto. I mentioned a bear market, a bull fake in 2014, and we're in 2018. So that kind of shows you how desperate I am looking for historical data when I have to go back so many years to kind of make some type of comparisons. So as far as taking long-term positions, there's certain things we look for, and obviously the same things we look for in the short-term interims. But it's really tough. It's really tough when you're trying to look very far back in the rearview mirror, trying to get an idea of what might happen as far as crypto is concerned.
Yeah, the market's so new and it's so young that it's rapidly maturing, and that's causing it to change. And so I think a lot of the past isn't going to necessarily help predict the future that much. So it's one indication that you look at. I look at history in other technology cycles and try to look at how this technology develops and how that changes the market. And so you draw on all these things from history, but not one of them really helps predict it. I was just curious because, I know a lot of people are probably going crazy digging up research, and not necessarily research, but they're probably looking at, Twitter and YouTube and whatever, Facebook, and everyone's asking people's opinions. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this topic. I've seen a lot of people actually posting charts about this. I'm just like, okay, I don't know, it seems like kind of like a waste of time to me.
I mean, at the time when we was about $18,000 in Bitcoin last year, there was a very popular opinion that we were going to see $50,000. I don't know how many people remember that. And then when in this most recent bear market, when we hit $6,000, the popular opinion was like $3,000, or actually below, to actually get into the accumulation. So if you look at like the psychology of it, I mean, you can make an argument either way. But right now, I mean, we're sitting at like $9,200 right now, $9,300.
Right.
And we're still in some territory to where a lot of different outlooks can possibly take place. So for me, the safest play for me to be bullish as far as Bitcoin's concerned is really around $12,000 and change. And I think we'll get there, but there's a possibility we can always pull back. So having a technical outlook, in my view, really serves me that purpose, because you could have made an argument either way, as far as in this bear market and in the bull market 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So I think, a lot of times people can probably just bog themselves down with a bunch of like meaningless data that doesn't really mean a whole lot. So that's what I was just trying to identify and, maybe save people some mental capacity, some stress. A lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. But I think you're right. I mean, Bitcoin has been kind of in this range and it hasn't really given anybody clear direction. And then some people, differ. Did it when it broke 92? Does it need to go to 10.5? Is it 12? So there's different levels and you can find any number of opinions and there's any number of different ways to look at that. I think there is still a pretty popular opinion of Bitcoin going to 50,000. Lots of people, lots of high level people, lots of hedge fund managers still think that. I think McAfee's still hanging on to his $1 million deal.
Well, he was pretty public about that, so I don't think he can back out on that one.
Yeah, he's not backing away from it. He's still pretty confident. So obviously, no one has a crystal ball. We don't.
For 2018?
No, I think by 2020 or something like that.
Yeah, he was saying 2020.
Yeah, no, not 2018. I have seen a lot of the 2018 forecasts have come way down, but everybody watching should just know that nobody can really predict it. It's just people's guesses. And what are the guesses based off of?
Mark, do you think we'll ever see a run like 2017 again? As far as
I think we'll see one bigger. I think the run we'll see will be way bigger than 2017, and I believe it's going to break every record we've ever seen in the history of the world. So for sure, I think
and we're talking Bitcoin.
What's that?
I'm speaking specifically to Bitcoin.
Oh, specifically to Bitcoin. I have never been a big Bitcoin bull. And let me just say that I got into cryptocurrency because of Bitcoin. And when I learned about it from an ideological standpoint, I fell in love with it. And so I wanted to be a part of that movement, and I wanted to bring as many people in on that movement as I possibly could. However, I'm not a huge Bitcoin bull for two reasons. One, I don't believe that's where the big money is going to be made. And so I taught a web class for several months last year, and it was how to make 1,000% in cryptocurrencies without investing in Bitcoin. And I just don't think that Bitcoin, it gives you the best return. So I typically stay away from it from that. But also, I understand the battle that's going to be waged against Bitcoin. And I understand the threat that Bitcoin poses to the global, elite, government, banks, whatever you want to call it. It's a massive threat to the largest power holders. And so it would create a battle that this world has never seen. And I don't know if Bitcoin can survive that battle. And so because of those two reasons, one, it's not the best return for my investment. And two, it's going to have to face a battle that's never been seen before. It just doesn't make me super bullish on it. But I don't think that the life or death or success or failure of Bitcoin really has anything to do with the money we can make on blockchain technology.
Sure.
So I don't want to believe this to be true, Yusuf, but I'm afraid it could be true in a sense where, I don't like to say conspiracy theory guys, but that's what typically would say. But the conspiracy theory guys would say that the government, the banksters, whatever, they want to shut down Bitcoin, or they want to try and take it over. But they can't really ever take it over like they want to, even if they own the majority of it, because in order for them to really get their power, they have to be able to produce money. And even if they control it, when they sell it, they lose control. So really, they need something they can produce money with. And that's why they wanted to get off the gold standard. And so I just don't think they want to do that. So I think the next option for them, since they can't control it, the next option is to suppress it. And so they could make it illegal. They could do that. But the backlash would be so big that, as humans, when we're told that we can't have something, then we just want it even more. Especially coming from a free country, a supposedly free country, we would be, people would get mad about that, right? And make them want even more. So I think the next option for them is to make it where nobody wants to own it. And so what we do is we look at what the futures market has done, and we look at the futures market against gold and silver and all these other commodities. And they don't own the commodity, they bet against it. And by betting against it, they control the price. And so what they've done with gold is they've made gold so boring and useless and pointless that nobody wants to own it anymore. Sure, go ahead, buy as much gold as you want. We don't care, but nobody has any desire to. And Bitcoin could be stuck in a $10,000 to $15,000 price range forever, and it's still there, but it's just from an investor standpoint, nobody's as interested in it. So those are possible things. Obviously, no one knows. It's just speculation.
Yeah, I have an opinion that the type of bull run that we've seen in 2017 in Bitcoin specifically, we may not see that ever again.
And you mean like from like October to December, like that parabolic run that we had?
Right. I think it's going to be a nice slow crawl for a while.
And are you saying that like probably never getting back to 20,000 or not?
No. I think we'll definitely get back to 20,000, but we're not going to 10x, 15x in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, the price is just too high. That's why I always said like for Bitcoin to do a 10x, I mean, I don't see how. I mean, that's going to put it to 100,000 a coin, right? So I don't see it doing a 10x either, not at all.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Ethereum, though, there was just a report that came out with a $2,500 price target for Ethereum by the end of 2018.
Yeah, price targets are fun, but
so between. Oh, okay. Here we go.
So if we look at this, if we look at like the total market cap, you can see there's these rises and falls right here. And if I were to say zoom out 917 right here, like you can see like this rise and fall, and they look pretty severe. But when you zoom out, so these rises and falls look kind of severe, but every time you zoom out, you get a different perspective. So when I zoom out to here, all of a sudden this little rise and fall looks tiny.
Sure.
And what I believe is that this rise and fall, as severe as this looks, I believe when we zoom out a year from now, this trend, we can see we're starting to pick this trend back up. And this trend, I mean, it's going to go off my screen, but it will continue to trend higher. And in a year or two from now, this right here will look like one of these little blips right here. But that's the market,
Which projects are you most heavy on, Mark?
Well, I'm most heavy on the technology. So I think the platforms and protocols will be the biggest beneficiaries of that, like Ethereum. Maybe EOS, Cardano, all those entrants, Neo, because those are going to be the building blocks for the blockchain technology. So I believe those are, if I was going to only buy a couple coins and sit on them forever, those would be the ones I'd be looking in that category. So to answer your question, it's not one simple answer. So what am I the most bullish on as far as which ones am I going to make the most money on, or which ones are going to be the most successful over the long term? So that's, I don't know exactly what you meant by that question, but I like the platform plays because those will be the building blocks of this technology. I also believe probably the most explosive sector of the market will be this new movement into security coins. So that's going to bring trillions of dollars into the market like super fast. Also, we're starting to see the decentralized exchanges starting to take off pretty fast. So I do like that sector, and I keep exposure to that. Privacy coins I think are going to continue to do good. So I still like to have exposure to that sector. But I guess to answer your question, if I'm answering it correctly, I'm probably the most bullish on the platform sector. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
So the EOS, the Neo, the Ethereum, as slow and sluggish as Ethereum is, they have the biggest first mover advantage that you can ever imagine. And because they've established that ERC20 protocol, everyone's built to that. And it's going to be really hard for anybody to take that down. EOS has been throwing rocks at them big time, but EOS doesn't have a working product. I think they can, but here's where I've been digging in, and this is maybe taking us down a rabbit hole here, and I don't know how much you guys want to talk about this, but for the last week, this is what I've been digging in on. And I've been trying to understand, and I posed this question to Charles a while back when he was looking into Neo for the Jarvis token, and I said, why does decentralization even matter? Right? We have all these arguments. And so I've really spent the last week digging into that topic, and specifically because of EOS. Because EOS is faster than Ethereum at the sacrifice for decentralization. And so everything in life is a give and a take, and to have true decentralization, it's slower, and to have centralization is faster. And so there's been this conversation going on with some of these big time guys that I know in the industry, and it's about censorship resistance. So Bitcoin is not just a better PayPal. Bitcoin is revolutionary because it's censorship resistant, right? That's what they call it. That means it's immutable. That means I can send money and no one can stop it. It's censorship resistant. That's what's revolutionary. And so then they started talking, well, there's sovereign grade censorship resistant, and there's platform grade censorship resistant. And so maybe for my money, like Bitcoin, I want that to be sovereign grade. Like no one could ever break that. But maybe for my dApps, my little, decentralized applications, they don't need sovereign grade. They could be okay with just.
That's a really good point.
They could be okay with just platform grade.
Right.
So then I started going, you know what? That's right. I've been looking at the market, and I'll take you through my little mind track here because it's been changing as I do more and more research. So then I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe they're right. Like, not every platform needs to be sovereign grade. For sure, my money should be like that, but do my dApps need to have that, and shouldn't they be able to be a little bit faster? So then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I do need to start looking at these other projects that I've been kind of writing off because they don't have that strong censorship resistance. They're not decentralized, right? So then I started changing my mind. I'm going that way. But then I started, as I did more research, I started to realize you're either censorship resistant or you're not. There really is no half, yes, I am, yes, I'm not. You either are or you aren't. And that's kind of where I've came out to now. And so what I want is I want my platform, my Ethereum, Neo, whatever, to be 100% bulletproof, censorship resistant. Then the application can decide if they want to be softer. But if my platform is soft, my application cannot be harder. And so the problem is, so then here's the conundrum, is that in order to get faster, I have to become more centralized, like EOS is. But they're never going to be as fast as a centralized model. So they're trying to be a half-assed censorship resistant, which really you either are or you're not. They're trying to be that and still be so they're not a fast centralized model, and they're not a decentralized model. So what are they?
Well, they are a very good marketing machine.
They are a very good marketing machine.
That's a really good point.
So they're building up on the hype of this whole decentralization, but without really providing that. And so anyway, like I said, this is a whole conversation. I don't know if it's worth going into, but that's where my head's been the last week. But it causes all these thoughts where it's like, do we really want censorship resistance? Because sooner or later, someone's going to make an app that has hitmen for hire, or has a money fraud app, or some other hideous thing, child trafficking app or whatever. And should the platform have the right to censor that? And you either do or you don't. That's what it comes down to, right? And then what the proponents of EOS say is, well, if one node wanted to start censoring those transactions, they would get voted off. But if the community voted to censor those transactions and then a node didn't censor, then they would be kicked off. So the community could decide to censor child trafficking or whatever these hideous things are. But who controls the community? How decentralized is it? It's no different than Facebook deciding to do it. And that's why people don't want to build on Facebook, because they can change their mind at any time. They can change the rules and regs. They can censor different types of things. So we want to go this decentralized model. But if EOS is basically the exact same thing, the small community controlled by one or two people can decide to change the censoring. So anyway, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Am I going crazy with that? Does that even mean?
Well, I think there's many ways to look at it. I think it would be interesting, and I'm sure, Youssef, you've been following EOS because censorship resistance or not, or decentralized, or, you can call it being a halfway, what is it, a halfway crook or something? I don't know if that's the right jargon. But, the fact remains is a couple weeks ago, EOS was at $5. And as of a couple days ago, EOS was $20. So guy like Youssef, you're looking like you don't care what you trade, right? You could be trading EOS, you could be trading NEO, you're trading pork bellies, you're trading silver. Why don't you talk about what you were seeing over there? Because I think that's a different angle to look at.
So as far as the technical side, sometimes, like, even if you look at even looking at EOS from the technical perspective, I think I took a position at EOS at around $8 and change, something like that. As far as like the spike that it ran on, it just recently, the tear went on. I didn't have that anticipation on my charts. I kind of followed it with the fractal levels on the way up, but there's no way I would have, anticipated that. So it actually made me more curious about the project looking at it through the charts. So, and that's when you guys started educating me a little bit on that. So as far as like the technical component, that was something from 5 to 20, that short period of time. I didn't see that coming within that window. And maybe some fundamentals on that may have served me at some point, but right around $8, I knew something was cooking. So I was able to get in position with it, but I didn't see it shooting at $20 within that short period of time. That was pretty insane.
Oh, wow. So there was nothing, no indicators or anything. This thing just kind of blew
Nothing
up.
that I had. Maybe there's somebody out there that knows it would have went to 20, through technicals. But just from my technicals, I seen it going to like 12, 13, around that area. But I didn't. And then when it broke out and then it pulled back, I knew it was on for another push. So I saw maybe like 17, 18. And I mean, technically that's kind of the area. But we shot it like $22, $23. And Saturday, I thought it was actually going to pull back on EOS. And we actually pushed more. So it was really exciting to kind of see how that performed.
Wow. Well, but you have been busy over the weekend, so there's been lots of activity. Do you want to maybe kind of like update us on what the seashells or the charts are saying?
Yeah, let me pull up because I mentioned EOS, NEO, and Bcash. Bcash was Bitcoin Cash. That was the let me see. Let me share my screen.
And while Youssef's pulling up, I think it's always interesting, what Mark represents and what Youssef represents are two completely different strategies, right? So when Mark looks at something, what things like Youssef says, Mark doesn't care if it's, 10% higher, 10% lower, because he's looking at this, a year from now, 5 years from now. On the other hand, Youssef, I mean, you could be trading whatever. I mean, whether it's EOS, whether it's, Dogecoin, whether it's whatnot. You know what I mean?
And I think the combination, one of the a trader that I look up to a lot, he holds about 70% of his position in crypto, and he trades about 30%. And he's a long time trader, been trading for about 20 plus years, and he only trades about 30% of his crypto portfolio, to give you guys an idea. So I know I give the holders a hard time, but it's really in light and joke. So holding your positions over time, even sometimes if you're not careful, sometimes holding your position can outpace you trading if you get into a few bad trades. So that's why, there's certain positions where I'll always hold. Certain things I'll let go. Like last year, I let go of my Bitcoin last year for sure. But during these type of sideways movements up and down, I'm not going to just dump and unload all my Bitcoin. That's just not going to happen. So a combination of the two is always best. One of the people I look up to, again, he does about 70-30. So if anybody's curious, maybe that might work for them. But here's my screen. So this is Bitcoin Cash.
Wow, it's had a bit of a pump also these past couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I was thinking it was going to actually pump a little bit more, but it kind of fell a little flat. Let me see here. Put this on the daily to give you guys So basically, this is Bitcoin Cash on the daily time frame, give you guys an idea. And right here, where this black line is, let me move this out my way. That's where I seen this is where I consider the breakout for Bitcoin Cash, where you guys see this large breakout engulfing candle. And then we kind of seen this pullback, and we started forming this higher lows, lower high pattern. So typically what we look from here is a breakout towards the upside. I thought we would have broke out with NEO, but we didn't. And right now we're kind of, it's during the day, so there's not a lot of volatility going on. Normally the volatility in crypto comes in during the nights, early mornings. So I'm still expecting a push up. My first target is really 1650, but I think we can get closer towards 1800 around here on Bitcoin Cash. So that's where I'm expecting with Bitcoin. And I'm bringing up Bitcoin Cash specifically because I mentioned NEO and EOS in the group, and they both did what they were supposed to do. Bitcoin Cash was the only one that didn't. So in case some people might have been concerned about it, I'm still in Bitcoin Cash. I'm not excited about it because it's not doing anything. But I still think we're going to see it's going to make a move tonight. See, on the lower time frames, it's not perfect. Let me move this. But it looks like we're still inside this apex right here. So what I'm hoping for is another push up, maybe another pullback. That's cool over the next couple of hours. But I'm expecting a breakout towards the upside. Now, if we start to trade below like 1350, I'll probably close my position, take it as a loss, and then re-enter the market at a later time. But with this big breakout of this black line where we see right here, I'm still anticipating for it to make another leg up. But that's how I'm kind of playing Bitcoin Cash, and that's the move. And let me just show you guys NEO real quick because it was a really good move.
So real quick, before you hop over to NEO, what you've got like a 3-day swing trade on this, or what's your time horizon?
I got in on Bitcoin Cash at 13. I got in right here, 1370, and I'm basically the same price. And I got in again right here at 1400 when it broke up, because this breakup would have been what I was hoping for, at least when all the other alts were pumping. I was hoping for it to break out with this break right here of this green candle bar. And it kind of fell flat and took me back to my entry price on that. So I'm holding one position left. And if it doesn't pump, then it's going to take me out at a small loss. So that's part of the game, guys, when you're trading. Sometimes it works out perfectly. Sometimes it doesn't. But in this instance, the odds are still in my favor that we're going to see a higher value in Bitcoin Cash, as we did not violate this fractal level right here at 1350. So once we start trading below 1350, then I would have seen enough, and I'll wait for the next setup on Bitcoin Cash. But what I try to do is I try to just identify and look for the very, very best setups in the market. Sometimes it works out great, sometimes not so much. In this instance, in Neo, let me show you guys Neo real quick just because it was a winner. I got in Neo like around, what was that? Around 74 bucks. Yeah, I got in Neo, and I called the target in the group. It's still in there. I said my first target on Neo was 95. So we touched 95 on Neo pretty much perfectly. And on the larger time frames, it looks like Neo's still a buy. So, but I don't like getting in positions during the day because there's a lot of false signals that happens during the day. So my trading window is really from like 6 o'clock at night to like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm always sleeping. So during the day, like I can see some really good setups, and every time I take a good setup during the day, it rarely does what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. So I try to discipline myself. Like right now, I'm tempted, like, oh man, I see Neo pumping, and it just paid me out. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna get in this thing, but I'm gonna wait for another, 7-8 hours, and then I'll get in wherever it's at that point. Even if I miss a little bit of profit, that's okay. I'll wait till this evening when Asia session opens up, and I'll get in then.
So where do you see Neo in the short term? I think you gave out a couple targets earlier this morning.
Well, it hit our first target at 95. My next target on is 110. So that's not really short term. I'm hoping by the end, well, maybe it is. We could say, because with crypto, short term is so relative now, but I'm hoping by the end of the week, we can get to 110, if not by end of next week, get to 110 on Neo. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what my target is, rather. So, I mean, this is a huge breakout with this green candle bar. This bearish bar is really just a retest of this breakout. So I'm anticipating for the next leg up. And let me just paint that real quick for you guys. So here's the breakout right here. You see where price touched right here? Price broke down. When you see these large engulfing candles, these are all very telling things. Even if your support lines and resistance isn't perfect, if you just look at price, where price is giving you these big engulfing candles, it's kind of confluence that, hey, there's something here. This area in the market is important. So we see this big breakdown here that gave me confluence that, hey, this really was support. We've seen this rejection right here with this engulfing candle. Okay, this really is resistance. We see this breakout. Okay, this really was resistance. Now we're seeing a retouch. So with this retouch, that's giving me confluence saying, okay, we're probably going to see a higher high. Price just doesn't break out for fun. It's not going to just break out and just, just do nothing. Usually when we see these type of breakout and retests, we're going to see a continuation. And of course, there's false breakouts, but those occur less often than legitimate breakouts. That's why we trade them. That's why most people trade them. So my next target on that, I said, was like 110. And that's right under this double top that we formed in the past. So we had a high, well, this is not a perfect double top, but we had a high, low, high, then we fell down. So this is where I think the next target is going to be. This is where support and resistance kind of act like magnets for price. So this is where I think we're going to go next, pull back, and then after that, I think my last target on it was like 140, I think. I have to take a look at it. But I'm really comfortable at 110 for Neo. I'm really comfortable. So I think I can get a little bit better for entry price if I wait till later this evening to get back in. But I'm really comfortable we're going to see 110 really soon on Neo.
Wow. Well, I can speak for, I'm sure, between Mark and myself, we'd be really happy if Neo got back up to 140. On that front.
I don't have any doubt that it will.
Yep. And I also shared in the group as far as Bitcoin, as far as the guys holding Bitcoin. I mean, now that I have this up here, I might as well pop this thing up. See, Bitcoin, all of these are daily time frame, guys. So this right here is not what we traders like. We don't like to see this stuff. Like, this been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and we really didn't go anywhere, like anywhere. And you look at something like EOS. Look at this thing. I mean, this is fun right here. This is living life. when we get clear direction confirmation and we're actually moving. But for the people, because I know everybody has some interest in Bitcoin, what I pointed out the other day, which may bring some hope to people, and it was on a chart that I shared, is that, as traders, we try to see what the market is doing real time so we can actually capture gains. And my gains, they're typically 3%, 5%, 10%. I'm just trying to steal little bites of gains out the market. But long term, I'm thinking we may see a cup and handle on Bitcoin, something like this forming, which is really possible. And it's not going to be perfect. The price doesn't have to fit perfectly in it. But if you take some confluences here with just support, resistance, that makes a lot of sense as far as where resistance is. This makes a lot of sense right here. So that makes sense while we're struggling to break out. This was a false break. So that makes sense why we're struggling and we're taking so long. Key thing is the longer you stay under support, under resistance, the more violent the breakout is going to be. Rather going one direction or the other, usually it's an indication of a direction towards the upside. So the longer we stay under here, just going sideways, the more violent we're going to go up or down. But I think we're going up. So I think it's possible we see something like this take place, where we see a cup, we see a retracement in price like this. That would be our handle right here, which would take us to, which would be confluent with this. Let me change the color on it. Let me change it to blue. So it would touch back here, which would be this old resistance. And then we could see from 11,000 to 6,000. And we could see a $5,000 to $6,000 move towards the upside, taking us back up to $16,000, $17,000. So, and I can tell you that by measured moves. Everything that I do in the market is measured. So if A, B, and C happens, I know that yields a 3%. If D, X, and Y happens, I know that yields a 6% or a 5% or a 10%. So like in Bcash, it gave me a signal for a 6% gain. But looking at it, I was like, nah, I can get more than 6%. And now I'm at 0% because I should have just captured a 6% gain when I was up. But looking at it, I thought I can get more, so I held it too long. And that's another thing. So there's certain rules you have to agree. Thank you. So I think I'm going to get it back. I'm going to get it back. don't count Bcash out. So there's certain things that, hey, this is a 6% move. But the downside is it doesn't tell you if we break out. Like take EOS, for example. It gave me a 10% signal. So I would have missed out on all of that upside, which was quite a bit of upside. So there's pros and cons. But
so speaking of which, can you pull up Tron? I think that might be a fun one to take a look at. And I know this
sure.
is.
I want to illustrate this really well. So this is where I get the target. 40% this way. I think we're going 40% towards the upside, which would bring us to about $16,000 range. Now let's take a look at Tron. Which exchange is Tron most traded?
Probably Binance. Probably Binance, yeah.
All right, so here's Tron. And Tron is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So what question do you guys have with Tron?
Well, what do the seashells tell us? Are we going to hit that? Is it going to be that kind of that U-shaped thing that you drew on Bitcoin? Can I see a 25-cent Tron, you think?
Let me see. I'm actually going to plot this out in real time with you guys. So that was our breakout right here. And let me see. We got see with Tron, there really isn't any formation. We don't have the breakout really was down here. This was, I had to pull way back here to find, resistance. This was the real breakout on Tron right here. That's where you should have got in at. Like that made the most sense. Right here. And that gave you the pullback. So it's really tough. So you see, we broke out these red daily candles. That was your pullback to confirm that this really was the breakout. So your resistance became support. and you flew up. And now I have to reach way back to when January to find confluence as far as the resistance level, which isn't ideal. So now we're kind of in new territories for this this year. I can see Tron going. My next target, if I had to trade, I'm not in Tron, but my next target on Tron would be somewhere around here, around 13 cents. That's where it'd be. But it's super bullish right now. If you're in Tron, you have no reason to sell it. I would definitely be holding it at the very minimum to 13 cents, and then I would wait for a pullback and try to re-enter the market at a discount, maybe around 10 cents, 11 cents, somewhere around those areas.
Nice. Cool. Well, hey, I think it's about time to wrap up. Do we have any maybe so Tuesdays, turnaround Tuesdays always is the big day for you, right, Youssef? So what do we have to look out for on Tuesday?
Watch out for Bcash. Don't give up on Bcash just yet. Let me see. Watch out for Bitcoin Cash. I think it's due to make a move. Litecoin. Watch out for Litecoin, because Litecoin actually has been one of my most bullish pairs that I've traded. And this weekend, it literally did nothing. So when those – and Ripple. Watch out for Ripple. Litecoin and Ripple, when they move, they move violently. So I'll be watching out for Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, and Litecoin. Those are the three of the major pairs that I'm looking for right now, because they have room to move. Tron, I can't convince myself to get in Tron from right here. Like the move has already happened. I should have been in at 5 cents. So I'll just wait for the next bus. But Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ripple is what I'm watching for sure.
Good stuff. And Mark, news for the week or trends to follow on your end?
I mean, the trends are in place. I don't know exactly which trends we're going to be following this week. I expect the market to continue to, slowly march its way higher. I think, anyone getting in on any of the open positions that, at good prices is still a good bet. I'm not trying to look for perfect timing, kind of like what he's doing. So I think it's a good time to get into almost most of the positions right now. Obviously, I wouldn't want to buy anything at an all-time high like EOS. Not that I'm buying it anyway, but I don't know. I think we'll keep marching higher. That's the trend I guess I expect to see.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, I guess it's time to wrap it up. Everyone who's still on, hope it was helpful. Few cool announcements coming up. Youssef is committed to a marathon week this week. So what, every evening tonight at 7 o'clock, you're going to go live? Or
I think it's 7:30. I'm going to go live. I'm going to take a look at charts. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to try to give you guys the best, information, not financial advice, just information on what I do with things I'm looking at, and hopefully it could be some type of context and put something in perspective and frame of and help you guys see the market. But yeah, I just want to answer questions, talk to the people, and just kind of make things interesting and see how we can learn from each other and benefit from each other.
Definitely. So yeah, that'll be every night around. Now, is it Eastern or Central or
7? I think it's 7 or 7:30 Central time. I created an event in the Black Top 20 Investing group, so you guys can check that out. There's a few people already. I think like 50 or 60 people, something like that, already committed to watching. I'm sure there'll be a lot more once I go live. So it's going to be fun. We're going to look at a lot of things. I've had a lot of people reach out to me with certain questions, concerns, and actually I did a poll, and one of the top answer on that poll was when to sell. And the people that follow me know I'm a little colorful with my language. So my thing is I'm not in love with any one of these cryptos. The thing is, I'm just trying to find which ones I can capture the most gains from. And over the course of time, it's going to play out better for me versus just buying and hoping and wishing and not having any strategy. So whatever it is and however you approach the market, the only thing I hope to accomplish is just instill some type of game plan, some type of strategy, some type of wide view picture of what's going on. so that we can kind of, navigate these waters a little bit better.
Definitely. So we've got, it's great. We've got two paths, and it's not an either or, right? Because like you said, some of the best people. It's
Mark
all about
has a lot more money than most people, though. So Mark could buy 50 Bitcoins and I'll check on it next year.
I think, I mean, they're definitely different strategies. I think it just comes down to people's, at the end of the day, what you want to do, what you can afford to do, what you have time to do, et cetera, what you're trained to do. And I always use real estate as an example because it's the easiest thing to kind of grasp. And you have real estate investors who look for like trophy properties, buy them under value, sit on them forever, rent them out, make a bunch of money. The house is worth 5 times more in the future. And then you have people who are home flippers, and there's no shortage of TV programs out there of people wanting to buy and flip homes. And so those are two different real estate strategies. And just like these are different strategies. So some people want to buy and hold and some people want to flip. Problem is most people can't be up from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. like Yusuf. So if you can't be on your computer 24/7, it might not be the best strategy for you. And at the end of the day, I like to say that everybody in the world knows who Warren Buffett is. We know who George Soros are. We know they're the best investors in the world. They're household names. They're old dudes from like Omaha. Why are they household names? Because they're the best investors in the world. They're not traders. And I don't think anybody can name the best trader in the world. So, boom.
Mark gave me bones.
No, I think there's a place for both, and I do some trading on my own, from time to time. But they're just different strategies, and some people want to do it for fun. Some people want to be more active. Some people want to do it as a full-time job, and those all make sense. And some people don't have the time, and so it just depends.
Good stuff. Alrighty, guys. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got a great week ahead of us. We've got some special content from Yusuf all week. If you haven't checked it out yet, we also have our show upcoming at PowerCon in Atlanta in about 2 weeks. So yeah, definitely check that out. It's powercon.io, or join the group, the Black Blockchain Investing group. There's over 60,000 people in the group, and hopefully we'll all be tuning in this evening to watch you do your thing, man. It should be fun.
I'm gonna have a blast. I'm looking forward to it.
Alrighty, sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Peace.